a very good friend of ours who happens to be the CEO of the hottest tech name in 2025. You want to know what that is? We'll have it for you on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang!
All right.
All right, Matthew McConaughey.
Exactly.
All right. You gotta love that, Pete. That or the. Those are rookie numbers, man. You gotta get those up. Those of you who know, and those of you who don't, ask somebody who does, because we can't say it on air. All right, welcome to the Rebel's Edge. He is, of course, Pete Najarian. I'm John Najarian. The CEO of Market Rebellion happens to be sitting down about 3 feet away from me, Pete, over on that side.
Uh-oh.
And he kind of snuck in on the midnight flight last night. So whatever you were about to say about Mark Lopresti,
just hold back for a bit. Oh, there's plenty there, too.
Oh, there's plenty we could go there. But he's actually typing away like crazy. So if you think Josh Brown's sitting next to me because you're hearing cluck, 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 cluck. How many times, Pete, did Josh Brown do that on CNBC and not realize that, you know, he could get a different keyboard? I mean, Mark's got a nice, quiet keyboard, but you know, Josh Brown's sitting there, you know, pam, 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 like this. Again, we love you, Josh. We love you.
It's all the allure.
All right, let's dive into Macro Minute, Pete. We did get the producer price index for June today. And guess what? Producer prices were not screaming higher. Oh, what about the tariffs, Pete? What about the tariffs? Aren't they supposed to be terrifying? You know, that little pun there. Well, it turns out they're not. They're below expectations. So put that in your pipe and smoke at everybody who's out there crying about tariffs and whether or not it's going to drive us into a recession, including you, Goldman Sachs, who at one point had nearly a, 50% chance that we were going to go into a recession, Pete? Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that, but what do you got for macro?
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, that is the story of the day, right? I mean, we wanted to see what this data looks like. It's another piece of data, by the way, that goes into the Fed. And I don't know. We just got to wonder, when does Trump totally lose it? Because he is on the Fed chair like flies on a rib roast. I mean, he is really on him, and he is not very happy about things right now. He wants that cut. I don't know that he's going to get it, but this is more for Powell to have to think about, right?
Yeah, and Pete, you know, I'll go right there with, you know, the yield on these. I looked at Europe versus the U.S. The U.S. our you know, overnight lending rate and so forth. I looked at that. I looked at you know, the Fed funds, which are 4.5% and so forth. I look at Europe and it's 2%. And so I'm thinking, wow, we are really getting kind of screwed here having that. And Mark is just sharing with me, Pete, that Trump has drafted a letter to fire the Fed chair. We'll see if he actually files that letter and, you know, tells him you're gone. But he got a lot of runway this week for that, Pete, because the Fed chairman is rehabbing the Fed headquarters to the tune of about $2.4 billion. Do we really need, does the Fed really need a $2.4 billion, not 2.4 million, $2.4 billion rehab of their headquarters? I don't think so. Sounds more like an edifice to Mr. Powell than it does something that's necessary to do Fed policy. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It's that was the amazing part, was just finding out some of those numbers that we were hearing, and that is unbelievable. Now, that being said, it's still going to be a brawl. I think that you know, they're both kind of digging their feet in, right? I mean, this is what we're watching play out right in front of us. Hopefully, that's not something that escalates any higher than it already is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
I wouldn't be surprised either, Pete. And In fact, I'm more on the other camp of anticipating that it will,
Mhm.
because, but it'll be interesting to see how the Democrats try to justify keeping the guy after he's spent this crazy amount of money on the new headquarters. And again, we are whatever 150% higher than Europe on our rates. Why? Why? Isn't that hurting our debt numbers? Isn't that hurting regular Joes and Janes who need to borrow money for a house or for a rehab or whatever? The answer is yes to both of those questions. All right, Pete, let's talk about BitMine Inversion or Immersion Corp, because you and I have talked about it. This one has been surging. They did a regulatory filing that said that billionaire investor Peter Thiel himself has taken over a 9% stake in the crypto mining and treasury firm. Now, folks, that we told you about this guy, Tom Lee, who's a good friend to Pete and I. There he is, the one and only Tom Lee. The founder of Fundstrat is also the chairman of BMNR. And that's one of the reasons this stock was one of the hottest performing tech stocks in the world, Pete. It's made moves of as much as 3,000%, folks. They raised 250 mil for their treasury to buy not Bitcoin, but Ethereum. And this stock has just been pumping, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely ripping to the upside. You're right. 3,000% in 5 days, John. That seems like a pretty good number. 760% in the last month. That seems like a pretty good number. 28% today actually kind of pales in comparison a little bit. But when you look at the Ethereum, 250 million worth. But I think if I read it correctly, John, in total, it's about 500 million. So these guys have really been going after it. And it's interesting that was the tack that they've taken. And we've seen this already. We talked about it just the other day, that whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, the crypto space is starting to see that much more just flow in and more and more and more. This is a big number. This is really impressive. This is a company that's absolutely ripping to the upside. At some point, I think they're going to be, I think Peter Thiel is going to be a pretty happy camper with what he's been able to do just recently.
Yeah, and just think, folks, I mean, you're not talking about some wacko. Not that, Ryan Cohen is a wacko necessarily, Pete. So I'm not saying that, Ryan, but I'm saying Peter Thiel is a whole different bird. This guy has founded some of the biggest tech companies. And if he sees something in BitMine or Immersion that other people don't see, well, I think there's a reason he's one of the richest guys in Silicon Valley and one of the best friends of one Elon Musk as well. All right, Pete, let's talk about ASML, because we saw these numbers come out, upbeat Q2 revenue and earnings. Revenue is up 23% year over year. So when you're looking at what they do, you'd say, wow, that's pretty damn good. This thing's probably going to open up strong. Nope, because of their guidance, Pete. And their guidance was what people really focused in on, because, the stock hasn't performed badly. But to all of a sudden see this guidance down as much as it is, again, blaming tariffs, that's why these guys got clocked by about 11% today.
Yeah, it's all about the guidance, John. But if you look at the numbers that they put up, it really was extraordinary and expected, I think. We expected they would beat pretty big. I mean, all you've got to do is try to figure out, well, let's see. They kind of work hand in hand with who? AMD, and NVIDIA, whoever. So, yeah, and the year-over-year numbers for the earnings as well as the revenue, pretty impressive. Very, very impressive, actually. So what really stood out for me, though, John, was when they went towards what their outlook for growth was going to be. They were saying it's up 15%. That's what we're expecting. That sounds like a big number, except for the fact that the estimates were up there at 27%. So they really did miss by a long shot. So they can blame it on uncertainty or whatever they want, geopolitical issues that are kind of clouding things up. But this was not, it was a great quarter, but what they put out there in terms of the outlook, my guess would be by trying to get everybody a little bit lower, John, maybe they can step over it again. So we'll have to see how this whole thing plays out. But at least for today, the stock's getting hit pretty bad. It's down about 10, 11%.
And you know what, folks? If you had the intestinal fortitude to buy the stock in April when it traded down through 580, today it's 735, and it's been as high in the last little bit here as, let me see, Pete, it looks like 840. So you would have had somewhere in the neighborhood of nearly 300 points from the April lows. Now, granted, it's only now 200 points, but that's still a pretty good performance if you bought that dip. I think Absolutely. You'd be a pretty happy camper.
Yeah.
All right, Rigetti. Let's talk about this one, Pete. You and I know that this is some guy from Berkeley that has taken over here, and he is a monster. He's done a great job with this company. They've hit a bunch of milestones for quantum computing that very few others, including Google, who is right nipping at their heels, has done. They have a proprietary modular chip technology, and they say it's the first step forward towards goal of delivering 100 qubit chipset-based system. Now, right now, I forget, Pete, I think Google has put something together like 20 or 22 qubit system. So to go to 100, 5x what Google is doing, that's why people are really focused on this one, running and staying long this name.
It's not only running, John, but they also have a lot of people that were betting against them. Again, we talk about this all the time, but it's really important. I mean, you talk about a squeeze. They got about a 17% short interest there. They got minimal cash burn, and that's a good thing. I think it's trading right around $15, somewhere close to that, which actually is a distance away from where the 52-week highs of a little over 21 bucks that we've seen. But the volumes, like I say, are heavy. They're talking about launching some platform by August 14th or August 15th. So this is a company that I think people should definitely at least look at, understand what they're doing, how they're doing it. And if the 52-week high was 21 and here it is trading at 15, even though that's up 16% today, I think this is one of those names where you're going to probably see this thing maybe start testing that 52-week high level. Not now, not next week, but over the next couple of months. I don't think that's much of a stretch to say that.
Well, now let's talk, Pete, about Goldman Sachs, which we sort of touched on at the top of the show. Goldman Sachs, folks, they were one of the many voices out there saying, oh, God, chance of recession, 30%, 40%, 50%. I think that was as high as I saw, but they could have even said higher than that, Pete. They were just so convinced that the tariffs were going to choke us off and that we were going to see, mass hysteria, dogs and cats sleeping together. But
I knew you were going there.
We have not. We have not. And instead now, Goldman Sachs posts record results for a Wall Street firm, Pete. Nobody has ever put up results as good as Goldman did today. In fact, their trading operations generated over $840 million in revenue, more than analysts had expected. So this is a blowout earnings, but the stock's not exactly blowing out to the upside today.
And I think, John, that's because of the valuation levels that we are seeing right now. The numbers themselves were absolutely incredible. Like you said, net income, interest income was up 56%. I mean, this is a company that's mature. It's been around for a long period of time, and they're putting up those kind of percentage gains. That's pretty impressive. And the record revenue, like you mentioned, I think that's something that's not necessarily a surprise to me. And the fact that it's not moving to the upside, I think that you could really place the blame on the fact of where they are right now. Where is this company? We talk about price to book and those kinds of numbers that you look at when you're looking at financials. I think this is a great example of that. JP Morgan, I think that you look at that one, you look at Goldman Sachs, they're stretched a little bit. Now, does that mean that it can't go higher? No, but I think it's what's holding it down, at least for right now. Because when you look at what they delivered, how do you deliver much better than that, John? I mean, global banking was up 24%. 24%. Every category that you look at, we use as the metrics. But this is the way this is going to play out. And I kind of expected, I think, because we've talked about the fact when you look at this thing, when you look at it based upon that metric that I was talking about, price to book, when you start getting a 2X or a 3X, that's when things get a little bit lofty. And I think that's what we're seeing with Goldman Sachs because the quarter was unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's like you and Mark have hammered all year, Pete. These guys and Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan and Deutsche and Credit Suisse, these guys have all been doing fabulous work with these companies that are buying each other right and left. Every week we're talking about not about a $500 million buyout, but we're talking about a $20 billion buyout, $30 billion buyout. Right. Who do you think gets the fees from those folks? GS and the rest of those guys that I named. So yeah, investment banking doing pretty damn well for them. All right, well, Pete, let's dive right into Rebel Sports, one of our popular segments where we get to throw an interesting video up there. And
his name is.
I love this. I love this guy, Pete. I know the jerseys look like Steelers jerseys, the Iowa jerseys, and so forth. Yep. But this kid looks like he should already be playing for the Steelers, one of the top offensive linemen in the country. And what do you think it takes to be one of those top linemen in the country besides dedication, weightlifting, and a smart and athletic guy? How much does it take to fill up that engine so that he can get out there, Pete, and do what he does? Let's take a listen.
This guy has the most insane pregame meal routine you
will
ever see.
I love the porn star
mustache. And he's one of the best linemen in the entire country. He's 6'5", 316 pounds of pure Iowa beef. Well, the other day, Jennings was doing an interview, and he talked about his pregame meal routine the night before and the day of. And it makes me sick to my stomach. It just shows that offensive linemen in the NFL or in college football are just treated like prize pigs. They just got to fatten you up as much as possible.
Kind of a John Alt.
Let's go over his routine, shall we? So the day before an Iowa game, he's eating 2 to 3 servings of pasta with meat marinara
2 to 3 servings of pasta, Pete, with marinara, a couple bread rolls, 12-ounce steak,
of fruit. That's enough
2 servings of fruit.
But we're still going from there. Then just 3 hours later, he's eating
I thought I ate a lot when I was trying to gain weight.
3 burgers,
Rip Drop hydration mix, and a hot chocolate. Then on game day, he wakes up 7:15 a.m. He eats 4 pieces of toast, 2 bowls of Wheaties, a couple of pancakes, 2 chicken breasts, 24 ounces of water, and hydration mix. Under 2 hours later, he's eating 4 more pieces of toast.
2 hours later,
chicken breast. 1 hour later, he's eating gel, a honey stinger, energy waffle, and chews, and hydration.
And the guy looks
and during the game, Pete, he's drinking Powerade and more waffles.
And then after the game, he goes to Culver's and gets a double bacon cheeseburger, family size order cheese, 4 onion rings,
born and raised to hate Iowa.
I don't under 24 hours, this guy consumes 10,640 calories. That is absolutely
I don't think I do that in 2 weeks, Pete. I mean, really. Because I'm not an All-American, soon to be #1 draft pick.
20 years old either.
Holy crap, 10,600 calories. I think I pretty much stay between 800 calories or so a day, Pete, for me, usually. That kid, holy crap.
You know what, John, when I was in college, my last 2 years trying to gain weight and it never could stay on, but I tried every time I could, everything I could do. I was putting in like 5,500 calories a day, and that was hard. This guy's double that. I mean, that's pretty amazing. It really is. All right, sticking with a little bit of football, John, we're going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals. And what did they do with the 17th pick of the first round this past year? Well, they drafted Shamir Stewart. Now, he's that big, huge, call it a defensive end position, unbelievable sacking machine out at Texas A&M. The kid's a complete freak show. But here's the problem. So he goes to the mandatory mini camps that you've got to do in the NFL. He did that whole thing. And then he decided to walk away because he was not getting anything from his contract, was not starting to put itself together. Now, here's the deal. Because of the collective bargaining deal that they put out there, John, he has a specific number that's going to be what he is going to make. That's something that was negotiated already. So it's interesting. And then people saw the fact that he walked away from minicamp, said the hell with it. And where do they find him? They find him back down at Texas A&M working out. And so there were rumors, idiotic rumors nonetheless, but rumors that he was going to stay and go back to college because he could still get another year if he wanted to. But what people don't seem to understand is, number one, if you're going to step away from wherever your training camp is, whatever NFL team it is, you're going to probably go back to your school. You're going to work out at your school, and that's the way you're going to kind of keep yourself in shape, right? Well, that's really what it was all about. But they started these rumors, somebody did, that he was going to sit this year out. Now, that would have been interesting, but he was going to sit the year out and go back to Texas A&M and play there and get his NIL money, which, quite honestly, John, probably isn't all that far away from the money that he was going to be getting, which is close to $5 million a year because of the collective bargaining. 4 years, almost $19 million is what the contract is for him because he's in the first round in the 17th pick. Well, that's pretty damn close to $5 million a year, right? Well, I can tell you this, Texas A&M, I can't remember what they were paying him. I think it was 3. But if they could get him back for 5, that actually, as stupid as it all sounds, it's kind of interesting. But he'd be stuck in the same position unless they upped where he actually went in the draft. So I thought that one was pretty interesting just to see how all this is playing out. And by the way, not only do they have an issue with him, they still got Hendrickson, who is the NFL sack leader the last couple of years. They haven't signed him yet either, John. So they need to get a defense for Joe Burrow if they want to make a legitimate shot that they're the team that can go to the Super Bowl.
Well, and what about TJ Watt, Pete?
Yeah.
Did he sign his contract yet?
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, because he is, just like you said, Hendrickson, fabulous player. I mean, you know, your buddy Ray would say fabulous player, you know, because he is. He's a fabulous player. And both those guys, TJ Watt and Hendrickson, are, you know, top of their game. Nobody's really better. But on the other hand, you know, there's only so much money to dole out. And he just signed a big new contract, and more or less, he wants his new contract to be even bigger. He wants, you know, because every year somebody signs a new contract that's more than the highest that was paid last year, Pete, because they can, because, you know, it's a percentage of the TV revenue and the live gate and all the rest. So I don't know. I mean, Cincinnati needs both of these players. And like you said, we're not sure that Shamir is gone, but it is interesting because it's tough to walk away from a $20 million guarantee if he shows up to play at Cincinnati.
It's unbelievable. It's what the NIL has done to sports. A lot of people think it's great. A lot of people think it's terrible. I find myself on both sides of that. I mean, I think it has changed the game in a lot of ways in a negative way. But at the same time, heck, these players are finally getting paid. And you know what? They deserve some of that too, especially when they look up in the stands and they're all wearing your jersey, John. And I mean, what's the value there? I mean, it's unbelievable. All right, next one up. How about the NFL? Now, This is why the Chiefs, in my opinion, they understand the game better than probably anybody else. And why do I say that? Because they got arguably the best quarterback in football, right? Patrick Mahomes. Now, last year wasn't his best year, but the guy's been unbelievable pretty much for his career down there, right? And why is that? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because these guys have figured out something big. John, the salary cap went up even more than a lot of people thought it was going to be this year. So it jumped all the way up. It's $279.2 million is what the cap is right now. A lot of people thought it'd be like 265, 270. They got an extra 10 million, right? So they got to get some people signed. Well, the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs, that is who protects Patrick Mahomes, right? So the left tackle is Jalen Moore. He is getting paid. You've got Kingsley Samalaala. He's a guard. You've got Creed Humphrey. He's at center. They're all getting paid, John. And Jawan Taylor is the right tackle. I left out the most recent guy because they put a franchise tag on him, and he just signed. And by the way, he's played 80 of 81 games since he got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. He's played 80 of 81 games. Here's the best part, John. The guy just signed a contract guaranteed with 4 years, $94 million on his extension. I mean, these guys are making unbelievable money. But you know what? They're protecting the right guy. And if they can be a little bit lighter here, a little bit lighter there, they can actually continue to do this. But I love that. By the way, one last thing. You know what they did in their first pick of the draft this year? First round pick? Ohio State, Josh Simmons. So they're not done putting guys around him. This guy could maybe play, John, into his, like Tom Brady, into his 40s. He needs to get in better shape. That's just obvious or whatever, if he wants to be like Tom Brady, because eventually that catches up with you if you're not in the kind of shape that Tom Brady put himself in to get into that 40-year-old and up category as a quarterback. It's just the reality of it all. What do you think? And I love what they do, because I think that they're doing all the right things to protect the best player in football.
Well, they are, Pete. You're right. I mean, I think they looked at the Super Bowl and they looked at the tape, and that's why, obviously, even though they got Jalen Moore, free agent signing, 2-year, $30 million contract, even though they stole him, they had to draft Josh Simmons, like you said, from Ohio State. So I think, they're stacking this thing. It's one of the biggest offensive lines in football now. But as you always say, Pete, it's not a pie eating contest. Just because you've got a lot of guys at 320, 330 doesn't mean they're the best, but they're certainly paying them like they think they're the best. And the protection broke down, and the offense didn't do them any favors either, Pete, in the Super Bowl, because it was like a jailbreak. Mahomes never has had to endure something like that at the pro level anyway. Maybe he did in college a little bit, but not at the pro level. And now they're trying to surround him with a whole bunch of big monsters. And yeah, I agree with you. They did pick up a couple free agents here and there. And now they just got to get the O coordinator on the same page so that they don't have him being chased down in the backfield by, a rogue linebacker that comes off of a stunt or whatever. So, yep, I think this is a very solid offensive line, maybe the best in all of football. It's that close.
Yep. They're damn good. I know people in Philadelphia would argue, and they have a good right to, but this is a damn good offensive line. And they, when you're protecting a guy like Mahomes, I think that these guys are the guys that you want to have in front of them.
Yep. Well, we had promised you guys that we were going to run the very inspirational tape, but then we had that Iowa. We had that guy, doing his 10,600 calories. So we had to run that today because Pete was all football. Tomorrow, we'll have that inspirational sports video for you. I think you're going to love it. Make sure you tune in and join us both at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And as always, check out the Rebel Boot Camp, because if you click on that link, you can go right to Market Rebellion's page and sign up for the Rebel Boot Camp. September 19th and 20th, live trading on the 19th, and then lots of strategies, stories, and the rest on the 20th. It's going to be fabulous. I think the VIP is already sold out, Pete. VIP, Mark says, is already sold out, but we still have tickets. Only 120 people, folks. Only 120 people can join us in Aventura, Florida, the 19th and 20th of September. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.